Imagine a world where everything you've built, every harvest, every bit of peace you might find, it can just be snatched away, just like that, by overwhelming
Yeah,
force.
going in an instant.
Exactly. A world where survival isn't just about working hard, it's about making these desperate, almost impossible choices. What does it really take to stand up against that kind of power? What even is a hero in a world like that?
It's a heavy question.
It really is. And
Yeah.
today, we're plunging into a story that doesn't just ask those big questions, it answers them with this intensity and artistry that pretty much redefined cinema.
Oh, absolutely. Change the game.
We are embarking on a deep dive into Akira Kurosawa's huge, monumental 1954 masterpiece, Seven Samurai. Our mission today, pulling from all the great material you shared with us, is really to dig into the core insights, find those surprisingly relevant details, and explore the lasting impact of this, well, cinematic legend.
It really is legendary. No exaggeration.
And even if you haven't actually seen Seven Samurai yourself, though you absolutely should, I can almost guarantee you've seen its blueprint. Its DNA is in so many other stories you probably love.
That's so true.
Think about any film or even a game where you've got this diverse group, right? Each person with their own skills, their own quirks, and they're carefully brought together to face this massive, seemingly unbeatable threat.
That's the Seven Samurai structure right there.
Exactly. That's its revolutionary DNA flowing right through. So get ready for a journey into a film that just leaps across genres, cultures, generations. It offers these really profound lessons on courage, yeah, but also community, and the really complex, often kind of bittersweet nature of what it even means to win.
It's remarkable, isn't it? How much of what we just take for granted now in narrative structure, action movies, superhero team-ups, even tactical video games, you can trace it straight back to Kurosawa's innovations here.
It really is foundational.
Yeah, it's a testament to the film's brilliance that its influence is just everywhere.
Yeah.
Often people don't even realize where these storytelling ideas came from. It literally reshaped how we think about, assembling a team, prepping for a siege, pulling off a strategic defense.
And to really get that, we need to set the scene properly. We need to transport ourselves back to 16th century Japan. Now, this wasn't like the serene cherry blossom picture postcard some might imagine.
Not at all. Far from it.
This was the Sengoku period, often called the Age of Warring States. It was a time of just immense civil unrest, brutal warfare everywhere, and this deep, grinding poverty for most people. It was chaos.
That historical backdrop is absolutely vital. You can't understand the villagers' desperation without it. The Sengoku period, running roughly mid-15th to early 17th century, it was defined by constant war between these competing feudal lords, the daimyo. Central authority had basically crumbled. So you had this power vacuum filled with local fights, shifting alliances, and the small farming villages, the very backbone of the economy, they were tragically stuck right in the middle.
Completely exposed.
Totally.
No.
No protection from any central government, no consistent military force nearby, just existing on the edge of these warring groups. Life for peasants was just relentless, a hard struggle just to survive day to day.
Facing threats from all sides, I imagine.
Exactly. Heavy taxes, forced labor for whichever lord was in charge that week, and the constant terrifying threat of having everything stolen, either by passing armies needing supplies or, like we see so vividly in this film, by these marauding bandits preying on anyone weak.
Sounds exhausting.
It was hand-to-mouth existence. One bad harvest, one devastating raid like the ones in the film, that could mean starvation. Death for the whole community. Their lives were just defined by being vulnerable.
And that's precisely the feeling hanging over this small, nameless village in the film. This constant, almost tangible fear. Right from the start, you get these bandits aren't just an occasional problem.
No, they're a persistent, terrifying force.
They raid the village often, systematically stealing the harvest they need to live. It's not just losing some food for a while, it's losing their entire future.
Precisely. The threat isn't just theft, it's existential, like you said. These weren't, petty crimes. The bandits, led by their ruthless chief, they systematically came back year after year, destroying the villagers' livelihood, their ability to survive, and just grinding down their spirit.
It breaks them down.
Completely. When a community's basic ability to feed itself, to plant, grow, harvest, store food, is under constant violent attack like that, it loses more than just food. It loses hope, its spirit.
Any sense of security is gone.
Yeah, hope becomes this luxury they just can't afford.
Hmm.
Their traditions, their social bonds, their very identity gets stripped away. This cycle of fear and plunder just feeds itself, leaving them right on the edge, unable to fight back or even imagine a life without this constant oppression.
So the tension is just off the charts when the villagers actually overhear the bandit gang planning another raid right after the next harvest. This isn't just a raid. This is the one that's going to finish them. It's the absolute last straw.
Yeah, the breaking point.
They realize they have to do something, anything, even if it seems completely impossible. And that leads to this incredibly desperate, pivotal decision. They decide they have to hire samurai.
Which sounds crazy on the face of it.
Right. What does that even mean when you have absolutely nothing? No money, no valuables.
And this brings up that critical, really poignant question. How does a community with literally zero money, no gold, no jewels, nothing to trade, how do they possibly hire professional warriors? Samurai, no less.
It seems impossible.
Their desperation forces them towards this really unconventional, almost revolutionary idea. They're advised by Gusaku, the wise village elder and others who've maybe seen Ronin around, to find hungry samurai.
Hungry samurai.
Yeah, men who will fight not for coin, but for something as basic as food, shelter. And this speaks volumes about the state of the samurai class back then.
So, not all samurai were well-off retainers.
Not at all. Especially during this period. Many samurai, maybe their lords were killed or lost their lands, they became ronin. Masterless warriors. Highly skilled fighters, yes, but often unemployed, dispossessed, completely broke, just trying to survive in this changing world that didn't really have a place for them anymore.
Okay. So there's a potential match there.
Exactly. While the farmers had no money, their most precious resource, their harvest, their rice, that becomes their only bargaining chip. A unique kind of payment that could actually appeal to these masterless samurai who were also struggling. It's this desperate but kind of ingenious meeting of needs. Shared vulnerability creating this really unlikely alliance.
That's a really powerful idea. Shared vulnerability bridging that huge class gap. So, okay, with this desperate plan, this small group of farmers, Rikichi, the sort of intense one, Monzo, the worried father, and the wise elder Gisaku, they lead the way. They leave their village.
And we have to pause and think about the courage that took. Seriously, for these farmers who probably never went further than the nearest market, maybe not even that.
Their whole world was that village.
Exactly. Venturing out even to a nearby town was terrifying, dangerous. They were simple people, not used to the wider world, let alone seeking out hardened warriors. Only their absolute desperation could have pushed them that far out of their comfort zone into this unknown where they were just completely vulnerable. Just leaving the village was a huge act of bravery.
And it's in that town, amidst all the hustle and indifference, that they find the first and arguably the most critical piece of their puzzle, Kambei Shimada.
Kambei.
He's a veteran Ronin. You can see the weariness on him, the weight of past battles, but he still has this undeniable wisdom, this sense of honor about him. And he immediately earns their respect, and ours too, with this amazing little scene.
The rescue.
Yeah. He disguises himself as a monk, shaves his head, to cleverly rescue this kidnapped child from a thief. It's not about flashy sword moves. It's compassion, quick thinking, and this deep sense of duty.
Kambei is absolutely the linchpin. He's the moral and strategic core of the whole film. His character is just so perfectly crafted for this impossible job. His wisdom isn't just in strategy, it's in understanding people, even in that first act with the child.
He reads the situation so well.
He does. He sees beyond the immediate problem, blends compassion with pragmatism. And his honor, it's not about rigidly sticking to some outdated code for show. It's an internal moral compass guiding him towards justice, protecting the innocent.
Even though he's initially reluctant.
Right. He initially kind of scoffs at helping these poor villagers, admits he's tired of fighting, tired of pointless battles, but he agrees to help, not for money, because there isn't any, but out of this profound sense of duty to those weaker than him. And maybe, just maybe, he's tired of the endless, meaningless wars of his time, too.
He sees something worthwhile here.
Exactly. That first act shows his core values. Life, justice, protecting the innocent come first, even before his own comfort or pride. And this really raises an important question for us, doesn't it? What kind of leadership do you actually need when resources are desperately thin, the stakes are life and death, and the way forward is just full of danger?
Yeah, what does that look like?
Kambei shows it's not just about being good with a sword. It's strategic smarts, it's empathy, it's inspiring trust, and understanding that the real victory is the community surviving, not just the warriors winning a fight. He sees the bigger picture. That's why he's the foundation.
So with Kambei as the anchor, the assembly starts. He carefully, methodically builds his team, each member bringing something unique, a vital skill.
It's like watching a master craftsman at work.
Totally. First, there's Gorobei. He's cheerful, incredibly capable with a bow, a seasoned warrior who joins just out of admiration for Kambei. His presence adds this unexpected wisdom, even a bit of lightness.
A valuable addition early on.
Then Shichiroji, Kambei's loyal old comrade. Their reunion speaks volumes about past battles, trust already built, unwavering loyalty, practical skills. He's instantly the trusted second in command.
That history matters.
Definitely. Next is Hihachi, the jovial one. Maybe not the absolute best fighter, but he values morale, quick with a joke, brings this needed lightness, and surprisingly good with an axe, apparently.
Morale is key in a situation like this.
Then Kyuzo, the polar opposite. Stoic, masterful swordsman, serious and tense, incredibly skilled. His quiet competence just commands respect, almost spiritual in his dedication.
A pure warrior.
And finally, Katsushiro, the young one. Idealistic, eager. He basically begs Kambei to take him on as a disciple. He represents youth, the future maybe, and he's kind of our eyes learning from the master.
The student.
Yeah, it's quite the lineup.
And what's truly revolutionary here, thinking about film history, is how Seven Samurai didn't just have a group of heroes. It essentially created the assembling the team structure we see everywhere now.
Right, it feels so familiar now, but it wasn't then.
Exactly. Before this, sure, you had groups of heroes, but this deliberate, systematic recruitment. Finding individuals with diverse, complementary skills, each with a clear personality and role. That wasn't the narrative cornerstone it became after this film. Kurosawa basically wrote the playbook.
For so many genres.
Countless action films, heist movies like Ocean's 11, war films like The Dirty Dozen, superhero team-ups, even animated films like A Bug's Life borrow this structure. This film provided the template. And the diversity isn't just for show, it's crucial. Each member fills a unique need, strategy, combat, morale, pure dedication. It powerfully shows how collective strength, built on individual skills and relying on each other, beats individual brilliance, especially against overwhelming odds.
And then there's the seventh, the wild card. The one who kind of messes everything up and yet makes it all work somehow, Kikuchiyo.
Ah, Kikuchiyo, what a character.
He's fiery, loud, unpredictable, initially tries to pass himself off as a samurai, but, well, it's pretty clear he's not. He's this disruptive force constantly rubbing against the traditional samurai ways.
Kikuchiyo is maybe the most complex, the most dynamic, and ultimately, yeah, probably the most crucial character in the whole group.
Mm-hmm.
His big secret, which we find out later, is that he's actually peasant-born.
Not a samurai at all.
Nope. And that truth creates this huge internal conflict in him. He desperately wants to be a samurai, escape his poor background, the stigma. But at the same time, he carries all the anger, the suffering, the raw feeling of being a peasant.
So he's caught between two worlds.
Exactly. And this dual identity makes him this volatile but essential bridge between the samurai, who can be a bit detached, and the fearful, suspicious villagers. He understands the farmers' fear, their hesitation, their desperation, because he lived it.
Yeah.
But he also gets the samurai code, their aloofness sometimes.
He gets both sides.
Yes, this unique, often painful empathy, born from his own identity struggle, lets him challenge both groups, push their buttons, force them to see each other differently. His whole journey is about self-actualization. He starts out struggling, pretending, but eventually proves his worth through sheer passion, his rough humor, his incredible courage, his fierce loyalty. He finds his place.
Not through birth, but through action.
Precisely. His character speaks volumes about class, identity, and finding yourself. He embodies the raw spirit of the common person rising up.
Okay, so the seven samurai, this incredible diverse group, finally arrive in the village, ready to defend it. But here's where the film's understanding of social reality really bites. They don't get a hero's welcome.
Not at all. Quite the opposite.
Instead, there's this immediate, palpable fear, deep distrust from the villagers. It's almost bizarre, isn't it? The people who hired them are now hiding from them.
It is profoundly ironic. And what's fascinating is seeing that social friction erupt instantly. For centuries, the relationship was strictly hierarchical. Samurai were often exploiters, tax collectors, definitely not equals or employees.
So the peasants were conditioned to fear them.
Exactly. Generations of experience taught them to be wary, to see samurai as oppressors or, at best, unpredictable masters. So even when these samurai come to help, that deep-seated fear, those ingrained class divisions, they just kick in automatically. Villagers hide their women, their food, themselves.
So how do they overcome that?
Kambei's leadership is absolutely critical here. He doesn't demand respect or use force. He earns it, patiently. Through his actions, clear communication, his practical, methodical approach to organizing the defense, slowly, carefully, he starts breaking down those barriers. One act of concern, one bit of practical help, one shared moment at a time.
It's a slow burn.
It has to be. It's painstaking, but absolutely essential. Without building that trust, the whole mission is doomed before the bandits even show up. They need to be unified.
And Kambei gets right to work on the practical side, too, implementing his master plan. This isn't about sitting back and waiting.
It's active defense preparation.
He's organizing the entire village, fortifying it, setting up lookouts, and maybe most importantly, training the farmers themselves, giving them spears, teaching them basic defense. It's about empowerment, right? Turning them from victims into active defenders.
It's a brilliant strategic move. A masterclass in adaptive warfare, really. Kambei doesn't just see the villagers as people needing protection. He sees their knowledge of the land, the paths, the hiding spots, the terrain, the village layout as a priceless asset.
Using local knowledge.
Exactly. He meticulously incorporates their knowledge into the defense plan. Digging trenches, building log palisades, damming streams to create mud traps for the horses, even deciding to burn parts of the village outskirts to funnel attackers into kill zones.
Smart. Very smart.
And teaching them spear drills gives them discipline, a sense of agency. This raises that key question. How does smart planning, even with few resources, combine with local knowledge and community involvement to build real resilience?
It shows it's not just about having the best weapons.
Precisely. It's about smart preparation, using every resource, human and environmental, and building a collective sense of ownership over the defense. He transforms them from individuals into a fighting unit.
And while all this intense, almost desperate preparation is happening, the personal stories, the human dramas start to bubble up.
Which really grounds the film.
We see Manzo, one of the farmers who went to hire them, so terrified for his daughter Shino. He makes her cut her hair, pretend to be a boy, hides her from the samurai, afraid they'll seduce her or worse.
It shows that protective instinct, but also the harsh realities and fears for women back then.
And then, almost inevitably, this secret, tender romance starts between the young, idealistic Katsushiro and Shino. A little spark of innocence and hope, but so dangerous with the bandits coming.
A fleeting moment.
Yeah. And amidst all this, Kikuchiyo is still wrestling with himself.
Oh, constantly. His internal conflict is always simmering, often boiling over. He lashes out, mocks the farmers for being cowardly, which reflects his own shame about his peasant roots he tried to escape.
But he gets them too.
That's what makes him so compelling. Unlike the other, more reserved samurai, he viscerally understands their suffering, their fear, their limits, because he is one of them deep down. He becomes their voice in a way.
Saying what they can.
Exactly. He shouts that famous line at the samurai, "What do you think farmers are? Saints? Ha! They're beasts. They pretend to be humble, but they're cunning. They whine, but they're greedy. They weep, but they're treacherous." He's raw emotion. He forces the samurai and us to really see the peasants' flaws and all, but also their will to survive. He's both their harshest critic and their most passionate defender.
His dual nature really highlights the complexities.
It absolutely does. The complexity of identity, how your past shapes you, and the painful path to empathy sometimes.
And just as things feel like they might be coming together, the first real blow hits. A casualty that just shatters any illusion this will be easy. During a raid on an old bandit camp.
Taihachi.
Yeah. Heihachi, the cheerful one, the morale booster, is tragically killed.
That death is a brutal, stark moment. It immediately cranks up the stakes. No more illusions about this being some grand adventure. It's real. It's deadly.
Hits the group hard.
Profoundly. He was the one bringing lightness, humanity, humor to this grim task. His simple act of making that banner with their symbols before he died becomes so poignant. His death signals the merciless nature of the fight to come. No one is safe. It steels everyone's samurai and villagers for the brutal reality ahead. It's relentless realism about the cost of war.
And then, the moment arrives. The bandits appear. A full force, maybe 40 of them, mounted warriors, heavily armed, and crucially, they have a few muskets.
But muskets are a huge deal.
Yeah, it immediately shows the power imbalance, the huge challenge the villagers and their 7 protectors are really up against. It's a terrifying sight.
It really is. The arrival of the bandits, especially with firearms, just underlines that overwhelming difference in power. The samurai and villagers have spears, swords, bows, their wits. against a technologically superior, larger, more ruthless enemy.
So how does Kambei's plan work in practice?
What's fascinating is watching the execution. It's a testament to Kambei's genius and adaptability. They absolutely do not fight an open battle. That would be suicide.
Right.
Instead, they lure the bandits into the fortified village, using the trenches, the barricades, positioning archers and spearmen perfectly to isolate and kill bandits in small groups. It's brutal, calculated attrition.
Picking them off.
Exactly. Burning that section of the village funnels them into kill zones. Each bandit down is a small victory, but every fight is desperate, close quarters, and takes a heavy toll. It's a masterclass in asymmetrical warfare, a weaker but smarter, more cohesive force, using its environment to beat a stronger, less adaptable enemy. It's just relentless, muddy, bloody chaos.
And the film really makes you feel the duration of it. These aren't quick fights. They rage for days and nights. Through rain, mud, it's exhausting.
An absolute grind.
But amidst all that brutality, something amazing happens. That transformation you mentioned earlier really takes hold. The villagers, who were so scared initially, they find their courage. They start fighting side by side with the samurai, defending their homes with this newfound ferocity.
That transformation is undeniably one of the most powerful arcs. The distrust, the class divisions, the fear, it all starts to melt away in the heat of shared battle. When their lives, their homes, their future are on the line, they discover this inner strength, this raw courage.
They become active participants.
Yes. Not just passive victims. You see women helping, men charging with spears. Extraordinary bravery. This shared struggle creates this unbreakable bond, transforms them into a unified, resilient force. It's a profound statement on how common purpose, born from pure survival instinct, can bridge huge divides and unlock hidden heroism in any community. They find their voice, their will to fight.
But the victories don't come cheap. The cost is terrible. More heartbreaking losses among the samurai. Each one feels heavier.
The attrition is relentless.
There's Kyuzo, the stoic master swordsman. He dies after this incredibly brave, almost reckless solo mission to grab one of the bandit muskets. Pure dedication. His loss is huge.
Devastating. He was perhaps the most skilled, the purest warrior. His quiet commitment, even in that dangerous solo act to get the musket, a symbol of the enemy's power, showed his unwavering focus. Losing him is losing a massive strategic asset and a symbol of strength.
And then Gorobei, the cheerful archer, the wise counsel. He falls defending a key position. His bright spirit just extinguished in the mud.
Gorobei's death feels like losing the last bit of light, doesn't it? The camaraderie, the insightful advice. These losses aren't just numbers. They chip away at the emotional core, the strategic brain trust. It deepens the sense of sacrifice, highlights the brutal reality. And Kurosawa uses the rain and mud constantly to just amplify that despair and exhaustion. Every death feels heavy.
And then, in one of the most raw, emotional, climactic moments, Kikuchiyo.
Kikuchiyo's final act.
The wild card makes his final, desperate, absolutely heroic charge, sacrifices himself in this explosion of fury to kill the bandit leader, the one with that deadly musket, ending the main threat.
Kikuchiyo's death is the culmination of his whole journey. It's incredibly significant because it's this profound act of self-actualization. He dies not just as a fighter, but as a man who has finally truly found his place, his purpose.
All his conflict resolved in that moment.
Exactly. His peasant origins, the source of his shame and anger, they ultimately fuel his fierce loyalty, his selflessness in that final act. He embodies the raw courage of his people, the ones he mocked but secretly identified with. His charge isn't calculated samurai strategy. It's pure, raw passion, a peasant's rage against the oppressors. Utterly, he grabs his sword and just goes, driven by instinct. And it brings up that question again. How does adversity shape character? For Kikuchiyo, it's through fighting for his own kind that he transcends his past, sheds his struggles, and achieves this profound self-worth. His sacrifice is the ultimate heroism, finding identity and dignity in serving others no matter where you came from.
So the leader is dead, the rest scatter. And this eerie quiet falls over the village. It's almost surreal after the chaos. The bandits are gone. Peace, fragile as it might be, returns.
Immediate aftermath.
And the villagers, with this resilience that's almost shocking, they almost immediately go back to planting rice, singing as they work. Life just goes on.
What's absolutely fascinating there is that stark contrast, jarring almost, between the villagers returning to life and the weary silence of the surviving samurai. For the peasants, victory means survival. It means resuming that vital, timeless cycle planting, harvesting. Their songs aren't just celebration, they're survival, life reasserting itself. It's a simple, profound return to normal for them. They faced the fire, they survived, their community is intact.
But for the survivors Kambei, his loyal friend Shichiroji, and the young Katsushiro, there's no singing, no sense of triumph at all.
None whatsoever.
And for Katsushiro, there's that particularly heartbreaking moment. Shino, the girl he fell for, she just goes back to her village life, joins the women planting rice. It just signifies that huge, unbridgeable gap between their worlds.
Devastating in its quiet finality.
He had this glimpse of a different life, a connection, but her world is separate. Always was, always will be.
And that is such a crucial point. Katsushiro's heartbreak symbolizes the temporary, almost mournful role of the samurai. They came, they fought, they won the battle. But they don't belong. They can't belong.
They're outsiders.
Exactly. Shino's simple return to her life, her family, her future in the fields, it just highlights those deep, unchanging class barriers. Katsushiro, despite his idealism, his experiences, he's still a samurai, a wanderer, a man of the sword. He can't just settle down and become a farmer.
That brief romance was just a moment at a time.
Forged in the heat of shared danger, but unsustainable outside it. He learned about war, yes, but he lost a piece of his heart and gained this painful understanding of his isolation, his destiny as an outsider.
And then Kambei delivers that incredibly solemn, iconic line, the one that just stays with you. A profound statement on their victory. In the end, we lost this battle too. The victory belongs to the peasants, not to us.
That line, it's multi-layered, so philosophical. It's the absolute heart of the film's message. What does he mean, lost? They clearly won against the bandits, saved the village.
So how is it a loss?
For the samurai, it feels like a loss, or at best an empty win, because their way of life, their transient existence as wandering warriors hasn't changed. They're still masterless, homeless, without a clear purpose in this changing world. They've lost 4 comrades, brave men.
The cost was immense for them personally.
Huge. And connecting it to the bigger picture, it suggests their purpose was fulfilled protecting the peasants, ensuring their life cycle continues. But the samurai's own path remains separate, isolated from that enduring rhythm of the peasants. The peasants go back to the fields, the community, the timeless cycle, the planting songs. The samurai, they have nowhere to go. They were agents of change, but not part of the society they saved.
They remain apart.
Which raises that profound question. What does it mean for a hero to achieve their goal, but realize they're fundamentally separate from the world they saved? Their heroism ensured life continued for others, but not necessarily for themselves in a settled, meaningful way. It's a poignant reflection on the loneliness, the ultimate sacrifice, inherent in being a warrior.
So it's clear, as we've explored, Seven Samurai is just so much more than an action film. It's this deep, layered exploration of humanity itself.
Absolutely. Its thematic depth is incredible. That's why it resonates across time, across cultures. It meticulously shows class division and social injustice. That gulf between samurai and peasant isn't just background. It shapes every single interaction, from the initial fear to Kikuchiyo's identity crisis to that final sad separation.
It's woven into the fabric.
Completely. It digs into the meaning of honor and sacrifice, not just in battle, but in quiet duty, loyalty, selflessness, shown by both samurai and eventually the villagers too. It powerfully highlights the value of community and resilience, showing the villagers transforming through shared struggle into this unified, courageous force.
Finding their own strength.
Exactly. And finally, it profoundly explores what it means to be a hero and the true, often devastating cost of that heroism. The sacrifices, physical and existential. It's not just the fighting, it's the emotional toll, the warrior's loneliness, but also the enduring human spirit.
And beyond the themes, the filmmaking itself was just revolutionary. Cinematography, editing, structure, sound groundbreaking for 1954.
Oh, absolutely. Kurosawa pushed cinematic language in ways we still study. His pioneering use of multiple cameras for action scenes, revolutionary for the time.
Gave it that dynamic feel.
Totally. Hollywood usually used 1 camera. Kurosawa used up to 3. It created this chaotic, immersive battle experience. Multiple angles, enhancing the realism, the intensity.
And the editing.
Equally innovative. Rapid cuts for tension, but also deliberate slow motion to emphasize impact or drama.
Right.
Very rare back then. He mastered the wipe transition too, that signature Kurosawa scene change.
You know it when you see it.
You do. And his sound design was so sophisticated. Rain, wind, mud squelching, swords clashing, bodies thudding. It wasn't just noise, it was atmosphere, immersion.
Building the world.
Yeah. Plus, defocus cinematography, keeping multiple things in focus at once, letting you absorb so much visual detail. And as we discussed that, assembling the T-mark became the template, laid the groundwork for epic storytelling structure across genres.
Which leads right into its enduring influence, a legacy that just echoes everywhere. The most famous direct remake is The Magnificent Seven, the Western.
The classic remake.
But its DNA, its spirit, it's just everywhere. Countless films, stories, even video games owe it a debt.
And that's precisely why it's almost universally seen as one of the greatest films ever made. The influence is just staggering. Beyond Magnificent Seven, you see it in Star Wars. A New Hope-wise mentor, farm boy, ragtag group against an empire.
Huh, never thought of it that way.
You see elements in heist films, war films. Pixar's A Bug's Life is basically an animated homage. Ants hiring warrior bugs.
Huh, that's true.
The whole idea of assembling a diverse team against big odds is foundational now. It's influenced anime like Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo. Modern games like Ghost of Tsushima draw heavily on Kurosawa's style and themes.
It's incredible how universal it became.
What's fascinating is how this film, so deeply rooted in 16th century Japan, could have such a global, lasting impact. It speaks to the timelessness of its themes, right? Good versus evil, freedom's cost, courage, class, community power. These are fundamental human things that resonate anywhere, anytime. And Seven Samurai captures them with unparalleled depth, artistry, and this raw, unflinching honesty.
So we've journeyed through this incredible film, seen how Seven Samurai takes this simple premise, village hires warriors, and turns it into this profound look at human nature, sacrifice, the cycles of life and death, the power of community. Just a masterclass.
It really is. And it leaves us with maybe one final provocative thought for you to mull over. Long after the swords are put away, the battlefield's quiet. Beyond the epic fights and heroism, Seven Samurai ultimately ask us, where does true, lasting strength really lie? Is it with the warriors? The ones with the swords, the strategies, who bear the brunt of the fight but remain outsiders? Or is it with the peasants? Their quiet, enduring ability to plant, harvest, rebuild, sing their songs, ensuring life continues cycle after cycle, long after the conflict ends.
The enduring versus the transient?
Exactly. Think about those fundamental rhythms of life, how some victories are quieter, less celebrated, maybe even invisible to the warrior's eye, but they are infinitely more enduring.
That's a powerful thought to end on. It really makes you think about what lasts and where real power is. We definitely encourage you, if you haven't seen it, seek out Seven Samurai, or maybe revisit some other films now, looking for its influence. And as always, think about what heroism and community mean in your own life.